No Box Dance presents Dance Behind the Screen, process production, and social media. Don't forget, say no to the box. Dile no a la caja. 고정관념 미래 상자에서 벗어나세요.
Welcome back to Dance Behind the Screen podcast. This is your co-host, Azaria, and I am the manager of resources and archives for No Box Dance.
This is your co-host, Reina, and I'm the manager of community engagement for No Box Dance.
This is your co-host, Yejin, and I am the programming director for No Box Dance.
Hello. This is your co-host, Martheya, and I'm the managing director for No Box Dance. We hope you are all having a great week so far. Today is an exciting show. We extended our open call online, where people can submit a short proposal and a topic they wish to discuss on Dance Behind the Screen podcast. Today's guest, Marianna, submitted a proposal to discuss hybrid dance. In our planning for season 4, we thought this would be a great conversation to dig into one of the elements that make up a dance film. We have heard from Reina about music, so in today's episode, we talk about movement. In this episode, I talk with Marianna Varviani. Marianna was born in Athens, Greece. As a dance theater performer, choreographer, director, and instructor, she has worked in the United Kingdom, Brazil, Greece, Spain, and the USA. She is the founder and artistic director of Selkuth. Marianna has a BA in Contemporary Theater from East 15 Drama School, University of Essex, and a Master of Fine Arts in Dance from UCLA. Her works have been presented at the Arc for Dance Festival, Our Festival, European Dance Network, San Pedro Festival for the Arts, as well as venues in Greece, UK, and the USA. Her collection of dance films is currently touring in film festivals. If you want to read more about Marianna and her perspective on the importance and the challenges of working with an ensemble, she even guest wrote a blog for No Box Dance, so be sure to check that out. Enjoy the show. Marianna, we are so excited that you applied to our season 4 podcast open call. This season, we are talking about all things dance and film. And in your proposal, you talked about your interest in a hybrid style of dance where, and I'll quote you here, our stories, our experiences, our anatomy, and our techniques are combined to produce a language. And in today's show, I would love to really dig deep on one of the elements of dance film, which is movement, by talking about hybrid dance. With that, welcome to Dance Behind the Screen podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be in this conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianna. So to start us off, why is it important to develop your own movement style?
Well, I think that naturally people move differently, and through the time different people have come together and created styles, but it's important for me to also acknowledge and respect and give space to individual movement, because in this way I feel that we give space to individual expression, and we value the difference of each person's journey and way to communicate. Yeah, so it's a big, I feel like it's an ongoing search, but it's interesting for us practitioners to hold the space for more styles and diverse ways of moving.
I love that. And I think here at No Box, we feel very strongly just about dance in general is a form of creative expression, and honoring the many is a way to understand other perspectives and just get a peek into somebody else's experience and humanity at large. And so I'm wondering, for our listeners who don't know, could you talk a little bit about your own journey to discover your personal movement style?
Yes. So for me, I have a theatrical background. So I worked with movement in order to create the character and use physicality and things like that. And slowly through my education and my work, I was literally drawn into movement. I was just fascinated by it, and I enjoyed doing it so much and focusing on it. So I started quite late, if you think about, dancers that start at 3. So I started quite late, and I focused on analyzing just simple details, just miniature movements that people do around me. And I started trying to understand why they were moving, or what did the movements do to me? What was the impact that I had? And then through training and different classes and different practitioners and teachers, I entered the world of contemporary dance, which I love dearly. And it's been an ongoing journey ever since.
Thank you for sharing. It's helpful, I think, for me and for our listeners, just to kind of situate your perspective and where you're coming from with dance. So in an interview that you did, and the title was 5 Things I Wish Someone Told Me When I First Became an Artist, you shared, through performances and films, I enjoyed being transformed by stories, music, and movement. And that made me wonder, do you remember a film that transformed you? And if so, I'd love to talk about some of those elements that supported that feeling.
Yes. So this is a very hard question, obviously, because there's so many beautiful films. But I remember some years ago, I watched this film called Howl's Moving Castle. It's an animated film, and it was as if my brain and my imagination expanded completely. To me, it was quite abstract, the story, and that helped me make my own connections and my own realization in between parts. It also used metaphor in a brilliant way. All the colors and the music and the structure and the design of it was really, really unique. And I feel that, especially with these kind of films, because you don't have, people moving on the screen, every single detail counts. And I feel in my work and in general in performances and life work, every little detail does count. So it means something.
Hoping we can kind of use this to really look at what hybrid dance is to you. Mm-hmm. And for our listeners, could you talk about this definition of hybrid dance that you so eloquently shared in the proposal?
Yes. So for me, now I live in Los Angeles. So when I came to America and when I talked to people about contemporary dance, most people connected it with postmodern dance. And I feel like the European and for sure Greek way is slightly different than the US way. And I was trying to communicate with people what I do, and I did not have a word for it. So Can I pause you there? Because I think this is really interesting. And this is something we have been talking about on our podcast. What is the difference between contemporary dance and postmodern dance from your perspective? Yes, from my perspective and the little knowledge that I have, because there's so many people more well-read than me, but postmodern dance is an evolution of modern dance, which also is connected to classical dance in its reactive, different, complex way. But contemporary dance, in my view and some of my teachers' views, is a dance that is contempo, which means with time, the dance of now. So the here and now, which means that it's ever evolving and it belongs to the people that it is danced by. So with this element in mind, I completely connect with contemporary dance. I also do not have a classical dance background, so modern dance are not so much my kind of area expertise. And then when talking about a hybrid dance, I thought of because in my process, in my way of working, the dance language and the dance movement that we create with each group really depends on each individual person. So how could we create something that is different every time, because it depends on the personality, the knowledge, the experiences, the embodied practices, the identity of each person. So it is, in a way, a hybrid form, because it's not clean cut or, just stuck in a box. Funnily enough, it's not a specific thing. It's not fixed. It's not set. No one needs to copy it. It's a dance that people create together with a combination of their strengths and experiences.
How do you see hybrid dance in practice? Could you maybe walk us through what one of your rehearsals might look like? Or because I think this kind of way of working might be familiar to people with a postmodern background or with a contemporary dance background. But I would love to, hear more about what does hybrid dance look like in a rehearsal process?
Yes. So I guess it's similar to many practices, but instead of trying to create movement that looks like a specific thing, we try to focus on the tasks given and then give space to each person to create their own movement, and afterwards combine basically forces. So if you think about it I can give you like a strange example. It hasn't really happened to me exactly like this, but if you take someone that does breakdance, and then if you take someone that does ballet, and then if you take someone that does West African, and then if you take someone that does tango, and you put them all together, each person will be able to dance from their genre's lens, let's say. So by nature, this would look different. And then if you can combine forces, you can figure out a hybrid mix. On a second layer, and I feel like it's also interesting to think about it as what kind of dance, what kind of movement can we create that is not set in any genre?
That's really beautiful. And I think it kind of postures this like utopic world of movement generation that I think could expand possibilities. But kind of on the other end, I wonder, how do you negotiate appropriation when it comes to dealing with these codified techniques or these dances that come from specific cultures and communities?
Very good question. Very hard question. I feel like if people have a connection, a personal connection with a genre of dance, whether it is geographical, cultural, or if maybe someone has trained in a specific genre for years and they do really respect it and share the knowledge and the style within their bodies, then I feel like by finding what is common or how these different elements can come together, we respect the genre, but we move past them. It's because appropriation is a very problematic and complex term. My way to deal with it is always through a lens of respect, and also thinking about, if you're not using a specific dance against a community or to gain money and do not kind of share where it's coming from, then it's definitely a harmful thing. But inspiration and movement are things that are everywhere. Like, if you think about it, we have bodies and we can do certain things and we cannot do other things. But I don't know, I feel also sharing things is not a bad thing necessarily. And using things is definitely negative. but sharing could be quite a connecting experience. I don't know if I answered the question. It's a very complicated thing, but we're not trying to look alike something. We're mostly trying to dive in and find out what's behind all this.
Yeah, and I think this, like the siloing of all the expressions of movement, has been something that has been separated for a long time. And I personally think because of the internet, that's kind of opened the doors for opportunities for this connection. And that's one of the reasons we have this podcast as well, so we can have conversations, because like you said too, before we started the recording, through conversation, sometimes that's the seed that we plant together, and then we can work together to grow the garden. So it's exciting to hear, I guess, what you're envisioning. And for our listeners who maybe are already developing their own movement style or would like to develop a movement style, what advice do you have for them? How do they get started?
I think they start by starting.
I love that.
There's definitely not a set way, but I will share something that might be funny for some people, but I never thought of myself as a dancer because I thought I needed to be a certain way, not only in terms of body, but also in terms of style and emotion and grace, because I saw the, ballerinas and all the ethereal things, and I didn't feel like this. So I was like, yeah, this is not for me. So I feel that everyone can be a dancer and everyone can start exploring movement. Movement is, it's how we live, honestly, as abled bodies, lucky bodies that are able to move. It's a way to survive. So it's also something that we all know how to do, but we are taught to forget it in a way. Because if you see children playing and dancing, they're just completely free. They have amazing body mobility. They can do amazing things. And then as we grow up, instead of broadening our skills, we start eliminating them. So I would say definitely start by moving and exploring. Start by figuring out, how things work very practically. Like, how much strength do you have? Where does your balance come from? Joint mobility, different possibilities. And then how do you feel? What do you want to Why do you want to move? What does that movement look like? What are movements that have had impacts on you or that you've learned? Like, how do your parents move? How does your community move in the city, in the house, or whatever? These all are information that are super valuable. And then if we talk about dance as a conscious way of moving, as an art form, then what do you want to say? And what means do you have to say it?
So now we will move we have our last two segments. And some of these questions are for our No Box archive. And we'd like to ask all of our guests these questions, tying in the reason we started this podcast, which is questioning the influence of social media on the dance world. So do you think social media is influencing the dance world? And if so, how does it influence your work?
So I feel that, yes, definitely it's influencing the dance world, and also it's influencing the whole world. On a positive note, it's influencing by sharing work of people that we might not be able to see otherwise, connecting people, as a possibility. You can just message someone and creating new connections and possibilities there. On a more negative side, I would say that because value and the economic side of things are connected to likes and views, sometimes people can oversee what certain work how a certain work can have an impact, or what is the a live work. What does it look like? For me, I try to use it more than it uses me. I am not going to say that I have succeeded 100%, but I definitely love to look at, different performances and people, and I try then to connect with them, either to search if there are performances that I can go, or workshops, or DM them and ask them something, so I can actually have a personal connection with them. So I try not to get sucked in by it completely, but it's tempting.
It's tempting, but I love the reframe there, how you are controlling it. And that's something that I'm constantly trying to work on, is how can I use it to my advantage to better my daily life, whether it's, like you said, just connecting with other people who can then inspire so many ideas, or be healthier, or read these books I didn't know about. But I think it is a challenge. So I love that reframe.
Yes, we try.
So we have a tagline here at No Box Dance, saying no to the box. So I'm wondering, how do you say no to the box?
So as an artist, that I have to say, through my practice, I didn't have like the easiest road. I didn't have the harder road, but it wasn't like, things flowed in a very certain way. So I had to invent the box. There was no box to begin with. So saying no to the box, I would say, for me, it means that take nothing for granted, and be ready to explore anything, find solutions where there are none, just depending on what you want to do. And that's how we're kind of, being flexible and resourceful, we figure things out and we make things happen no matter what. I mean, again, the pandemic has taught us exactly that. We don't have stages. We cannot connect with each other. What do we do? But similar to many other situations, it's very rare for artists to have all the support that they need. The number of dancers, the number of hours, the financial support, the space, But this should not stop us. So instead of being stuck in ways that we thought are the ways to do things, we just reinvent our own box.
Well, I'm glad that you reinvented your box so that we can be in conversation through these boxes together.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to move us into our final segment, our Flash 4, where we ask all our guests to answer 4 questions in a flash. So as fast as you possibly can.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Flash 4. Here we go. If you had to recommend a resource to our audience, what would it be?
A book called Towards a Poor Theater by Jerzy Grotowski.
What was the first dance you saw?
I think it was traditional Greek dances in Parigiria, which are the traditional festivals that we have where everyone dances together.
I love that. Do you think social media has a positive influence on the dance world? Yes or no?
Yes and no.
And what is your favorite social media platform?
Instagram, because of the visual information.
Well, thank you, Marianna. This has been such a delightful conversation, and I feel like I learned a lot more about how to think about hybrid dance and how you personally negotiate hybrid dance when it comes to live performances, and we talked a little bit about film as well. So I'm just really glad that you submitted to our open call and that we could have this conversation.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
The No Box Dance Film Festival, NBFF, is now accepting submissions for its 4th year as an independent film festival. NBFF seeks dance-related films that challenge the possibilities of what dance can look like in video form. NBFF has 3 categories for submissions. Some are short series, general, and documentaries. For more information and how to apply, visit filmfreeway.com/Nobox Dance Film Festival. KNOWBOX Dance Film Festival. Visit our website, knowboxdance.com, or DM us on social media.
Thanks for taking your time to tune into Dance Behind the Screen, a bi-monthly interview series where we go behind the screen to question process, product, and social media. Be sure to follow us on social media at KNOWBoxDance. See you next time, and don't forget to say no to the box.